For myself, the greatest hope that I have is that I can find peace and joy in this life. And I have found that through the struggles and challenges that have come in my life, and through the faith and through that power that has come through. My name is Joseph White, and I am the Executive Director of the Foundation for Family Life. And we're here to share a little bit about my story. I remember my dad came back from being gone for 6 months looking for another job, and sat us all down on the waterbed and told all his kids that your mom and I we're moving to California, and within a year your mom and I will be divorced. So we get to California, and a year or so later my mom couldn't handle raising 7 kids alone, and so she reached out and asked for help and ended up putting the 4 oldest boys in foster care. But it wasn't long after that I was asked to leave my 3rd foster home, and I got involved with drugs and alcohol. My friends turned me on to self-medication and dealing with depression and sadness, and it didn't take long before I was doing that all on my own. A couple years into it, I got my first DUI and almost killed my brother and myself, and then go to jail for that and get out. And then within a month or a month and a half of being out of jail for my first DUI, I got my 2nd DUI. And I was really freaked out and knew that I needed to do something, and so I split the state and instead of facing the consequences at that time. And so I went off to Nevada and continued to downward spiral in my life. Eventually things kind of came to a head, and I was in trouble and needed to either face the law or get out of Dodge. And so I ended up on a bus back to California. Once I got back there, even though I knew I had warrants out, I used a fake name and kind of survived that way for a little while, and then got picked up by a fluke. Happened to be hanging out with some friends, and the officer asked my name and found out that my fake name had a warrant out. And so it's a crazy story, but eventually I ended up back in jail. And within a very short time of being arrested, I had the booking officer tell me I needed to get things right with the Lord. My cellmate started sharing the scriptures with me, and I wasn't really interested, but for some reason that my cellmate shared with me these 2 powerful scriptures that really changed my life. Putting on the armor of God, Ephesians 6:10-18, and then Proverbs 3:5-6 about trusting in the Lord. It was kind of like that moment when I felt God's hand in my life. It just overwhelmed me, and I knew that He could help me. And for some reason, at that time, I was able to let go of the battle, of the fight that I was trying to have, of trying to prove to the world, to myself, to my mom, whatever, that I could do it on my own. I didn't need the crutch of religion. But at that time, I didn't care anymore. It's like all that pride, all that anger, all that emotion just was a massive letdown and a release of letting go of it. And once that happened, my heart just softened, and I was able to open up and allow God to come into my life. So I got a few weeks out of jail, and I recognized, wow, this is challenging. But I also knew that I had to start going to this counselor and going to the alcohol information school, which is kind of like a type of drug court, type of treatment. And so the state required it for people with DUIs. And I think that one of the powerful things happened for me was in my mind, I was able to recognize that, yes, God can help me do anything. But He also has put these people in my life, and this approach that people have figured out of helping others with addiction and alcoholism. And so I was able to recognize that that's a tool that He's placed in the path of my life to help me get sober. And so the opportunity to talk about my depression, my struggles, my mental health issues with a counselor was huge. And then to be able to process that in a group with other people was really helpful. I found out that I could get into college without having a high school diploma. I did take my GED, and so they let me in, and I was able to go and get started with working on my associate's degree, and got that. And then I took the ACT once I got into college. They let me do that, and that was cool. And then along the way, I met my wife, and that obviously has been the greatest blessing in my life. meeting Alice and being able to grow together and have a family. Grateful for the benefits of education. I know a lot of people like to badmouth getting a degree, but for me it was an incredible joy and an incredible journey. I love learning. And so along the way I found psychology and fell in love with it. We ended up going to choosing Texas Tech for our PhD program. I remember one night driving through the trailer park where we lived, and it clicked to me what I wanted to do my dissertation on, and that was to study people on the other side of criminal behavior and addiction. In other words, people that were in recovery, and looking at psychosocial development, but also adding this piece about spiritual development. And so I started the Foundation for Family Life in 2010, beginning of 2010. I knew the things that helped me, and I understood a little bit about the research and what was helpful and what we call best practices, evidence-based. So we developed this treatment program now that has spirituality as its core, but it also brings in all the other pieces of relapse prevention, criminogenics, how to overcome these cognitive behavioral therapy, and just long-term recovery. And we have a class I developed called Family Life, Fathers and Family Life, so we help people understand how to successfully be involved in healthy relationships and to be able to parent healthy for your children and have good relationships that way. I know that I'm able to, in some small way, make a difference in other people's lives. And one of the things that I love about what we do, it's not me, it's we. There's a team that we have here. There's no way I can do this by myself. I love the hope that we're able to bring into people's lives. The hope that we're able to share with them that they can change, that they can make a difference, that they are valued, and that there is a potential to change the course of their life if they follow with some certain basic steps. Message of hope for anyone is that they can do it.